think a great thing for North Melbourne is we look at this centre bounce Goldie. We've got Anderson, Dumont and Bonner. It's a different looking midfield with Tristan Sherry as well doing the ruck work. That must fill you with a bit of pride, knowing that you've got this young brigade to look forward towards, and they're out there starting this game out in the guts.
Absolutely, and you know, these are the players that we need to step up for us to be able to take that next level. So we look for all of them to put their hands up for round one.
Thanks for joining us wherever you are, cheering on the D's or the Roos across the two clubs' platforms. And as we mentioned, it'll be Tristan Sherry in the ruck against Austin Bradkey to start this one off, and streaming through straight away, Sparrow, who played in last week's Mars Series game, draftee from a couple of years ago, and automatically a ball up in the middle.
James Jordan at the bottom of the pack there. He's had a really good pre-season. He's got a lot of run in those legs, so it'd be good to see him today.
Brayshaw in the midst of it there. Pittard applying the tackle. Spills out for the Roos, but Jordan's given away a push in the back. Free kick. And Dumont. The Frog will look to send it up towards the forward arc. Lots of numbers deep inside 50. Campbell was there, but it comes to ground. Tyson trying to get this quick snap away, but kick was smothered off the boot. He's trying to work it out via hand. Again, Sparrow involved, the South Australian, and is immediately wrapped up inside the arc.
Jed Anderson really crashing in there. He's a good midfielder to have under your feet, Todd.
He's got good hope on your side, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Some of the training sessions, you don't want to be against him because he cracks him just as hard at training too. But you know what you get. He's tackling the foot. He's unbelievable.
And we got a glimpse last year of his potential, and if he's able to put that together for a full season, my gosh, he could be something special.
Oh, he's always had the potential. He's always been talked up really highly, and I think he now understands his role really well and plays to that most weeks now. So that's the progression. Now we just need him to start getting his own ball.
So here's Robbie Tarrant. As we mentioned pre-game, back in the side, struggling with a foot injury in recent times. He's continuing to work his way back. Dumont. Now Mason Wood. We'll talk a bit about Mason Wood throughout this quarter. Very exciting player as he goes deep inside 50. Big fly over the top. And there's a push in the back against the Roos, and it'll be a free kick to Melbourne on the last line of defence. Austin Bradkey will be the recipient of that free kick.
Early blood rule here. Jed Anderson coming off, maybe crushing in a little too hard, Todd.
Yeah, I think it's unusual for him to hurt himself. He's usually hurting someone else. But look, I think they'll only fire him a bit more. He might be like a bull seen red. Speaking
of bulls, Ahern replaces him though. Paul Ahern with another player who was a high draft pick at the Giants has come to the Roos. Hopefully he's able to have a good crack at it this year for North Melbourne. As Tarrant tries to intercept, but runs out of real estate. And Paul Ahern's a player that certainly North Melbourne fans really want to see thrive. He comes with lots of hype as well. Paul Ahern. Todd, how have you seen his summer?
Yeah, well, he was training a lot with the backs, and then in one of our practice matches, he played in the midfield on the opposition side, and he just tore it up. He had about 8 clearances in the first, and just forced his way into the midfield mix. And we know what Paulie can do when he's got the ball in hand. So it's about doing the other things that he's got to get better at and a bit quicker at. But when he gets the ball, you know what he's going to do. He's going to use it very well.
And Aidan Bonner, a similar story, coming from GWS, first-round draft pick here. Excited to see what he can bring to the club?
Oh, he's such a bull at 20 years old. I haven't seen too many 20-year-olds built that way. So he's showing really good signs, and I think he's taking a little while to feel like he's part of the club, but I think he's starting to get that now, and you can see his personality starting to come out, which is really good.
You can't miss him on the field. He's working his way into the middle of the ground there, Aidan Bonner, and he'll be around this stoppage as well. Very well built young midfielder. He had some wretched run with injuries during his junior years. Good to see him getting a good crack here. Here's Brayshaw for the D's, and finally they can send it in their forward half. It's been locked in the Kangaroos forward half for most of this first quarter. Fritsch got the hand pass to Pickett, to Melksham, and good run over the top from Bedford, but it went further afield to Mitch Brown. Clean from Brown, got it to Bedford. He kicks towards Spargo, and the D's work along the boundary line to have the first real good opportunity for goal of this game. Spargo tucked in the pocket. He's a real live wire around the goals, and he certainly does know where they are from any angle, and he's a right footer, so you'd probably back him from here. Charlie Spargo from the pocket executes it to perfection. Lovely stuff from Charlie Spargo. Melbourne get the first goal of the game, 1 straight 6 to North Melbourne yet to score, Todd. And the Roos had the ball locked in their forward half for most of the first 3 minutes of that game. Melbourne go forward and able to get that first goal.
Yeah, and it was a bit similar, very similar to the Bulldogs game last week. We had some really good patches of play where we kept the ball inside 50 and just couldn't find a way. I guess it's the hard thing when you don't have someone like Benny Brown and players like that missing, and Jack Zeeble in the forward line. So, we just got that synergy right, but that was some pretty clean footy then by the Demons.
And really important, I think, for Charlie Spargo to take those opportunities. He's a low possession player, but can have a real impact. So brings the pressure, and important that he can finish the goals.
Son of Paul Spargo, who played for North Melbourne, Paul Spargo, back in the day, as well as the Brisbane Bears, but wasn't quite eligible for father-son at either club, Spargo. So the D's very happy to wrap him up in the draft a couple of years ago. There is Big Bonner in the middle, immediately wrapped up. So you're not playing today, Todd, as is Sean Higgins. He's going to be on State of Origin duty, and Sean's going to join us in commentary a bit later on. Ben Cunnington out with soreness. Zeeble, Polek, Simpkin, Larkey, Thomas, Ben Brown all missing today due to injury or load management. But you look through the 28 players that have been named, and it's still a decent side on paper.
And that's why we come into the season quite confident, because we feel like we've got that depth now in our side, and we can cover the loss of a few players. And this is why today is such an important day for all these young kids to get the opportunity to put their hand up and show us what they can do.
He's one of those young kids, Joel Crocker, son of a great Darren Crocker, who's been involved with North for a number of years, not only as a player but also in the coach and footy department. He's Walker, Dealerson free agent pickup last season. Kick inside from Murphy, just missed the target, allows the D's in here. Spargo to Cozzy Pickett. You don't want to miss him. He goes deep inside 50, looking for Fritsch. Doesn't get the kind bounce. Pickett with his first score of the game. Melbourne 1-1-7. North Melbourne yet to score.
Jasper Pittard here looking to take the kick out. Had a really good first year for the club, didn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. And it was shown by his elevation into leadership group this year. I think, we all seen what Jasper could do. I think he was in the All-Australian squad a few years ago, so we know what sort of player he was, and he really found his role and felt comfortable as soon as he walked in the door at the footy club. And we couldn't be any more impressed with what he did in his first 14 months.
He's a good go for the Roos. Hand pass does come to Ahern, but it was just below his feet. Gets it back to Dumont. Just gets the kick away, but there's a couple of Ds waiting in the hole, ready to take that intercept mark. And one of them is one of their VFL players in Mitch Lewis. He takes the mark, and here's Tomlinson, a recruit from the Giants during the off-season. Speaking of recruits, Mitch Brown as well, working his way all the way up to half-back. Williams went over his head. Hunt was there. Fritsch was flying at it with Pittard right close to him as well. So Todd, at the end of last season, signed a 3-year contract extension in September, likely to make you a one-club player as well. What's it like to have that long-term security heading into this season? What does that do for the mindset?
Well, it definitely gives you confidence that the footy club at 31 sees the future in me, which is nice. But it just gives that little bit of job security. When you've got a young family and you're trying to work on life after footy. It does give that little bit of confidence to know that you can sort of relax a little bit. You don't have to play that 1-year contract for the next 4 or 5 years. So that was the goal, and I was really glad the clubs and my manager could come to an agreement.
D's go inside 50. Here's Marley Williams. Of course, Marley was in the news a little bit during the week after that suspension for the bump on Ed Richards as well. So he's able to play today, but he won't be able to play for the first couple of rounds of the AFL season after being suspended by the match review officer, a penalty that was accepted without having to go to the tribunal. Here are the Roos. Here's Tyson streaming away from defence. Good kick and going back with courage. It's an excellent mark from Curtis Taylor, and he's been in good marking form of late. Kick just below the knees there of Zurhar, but Zurhar keeps on going. Wasn't held without the footy according to the umpire. Hall retreats back to Trent Rivers. He's a good ball user there. One of their top draftees from last year. That's no exception. Baker. Pickett just over his head though. Kick wasn't weighted for him well at all, and mark taken by Durden, but he immediately turns it over to Spargo. So those D's, small forwards, just having an impact early stages. And that's a beautiful kick from Spargo. Mitch Brown on a searching lead, dives, and we'll have a look at the goals.
Very impressive last week, Mitch Brown. 5 scoring shots from his 10 touches, and if he can just take those opportunities, he's going to be a really good pickup for the Ds. Delisted from the Bombers last year, so yeah, hopefully he can kick these sort of goals and get a spot in this side.
And that's one of the benefits, Todd, about the new list rules that have come in. Mitch Brown came in through the SPP. Josh Walker came in as a delisted free agent in between drafts, essentially, last year. We'll have a look at this shot first from Mitch Brown. He'll kick from just inside 50. It looks a little to the narrow side and through for a minor. But there are so many other ways for players to get him on an AFL list now. Lockie Hosey's a great example of the mid-season draft.
And that's the beauty of it. It was all about, and that's what free agency is about too, is just trying to be able to give players options. It's not necessarily for the best players in the competition to leave their clubs. It's for those lower players that are on the fringes, and it's really great to see a lot of them standing up. And I think Lockie Hosey, as you mentioned, is going to be a very impressive player. I think.
A big fly coming there just before from Lockhart. He couldn't quite take the mark. So it's 8-0 in favour of the Demons. 10.5 through his first quarter early stages. North star ruckman Todd Goldstein joining us here in commentary. Sherry takes it out of the ruck. He's rucking in place of Big Todd at the moment. Dumont feeds it back via hand to Durden. And then in the end, Joel Crocker runs out of real estate. You mentioned Joel Crocker beforehand. What can you tell us about him? This is his second season on the North Melbourne list.
Yeah, definitely. Last year was probably a real building year for him. He needed to put on a bit of size, a bit of strength, and really just learn how to be an AFL footballer and what the requirements are. So you can sort of see that penny starting to drop with him. He's a very, very hard worker. He's still obviously got a bit of work to do, but he shows glimpses at times of what he could potentially be.
Nice drive there from McMillan out of defence, but it goes straight to Tomlinson, who's immediately wrapped up. It'll be interesting to see if Tomlinson does a little bit of rucking today, Benny G, because they did do a little bit of backup ruck work for Shane Mumford last year in his last season with the Giants, and no Gawn, no Bruce out there. So Bradkey might do most of the rucking, you think, today?
Yeah, you think Bradkey would do a fair bit. Tomlinson's certainly got the size. He's a really good talent, isn't he? Can run along the wing, get in the ruck. It'd be interesting to see how they use him today.
I don't reckon he'd be too keen to get in the ruck.
Here's Anderson, kick inside 50. That's better ball movement from the Roos. And here is Lockie Hosey on cue. The mid-season draftee from last year and has really turned heads during the North Melbourne pre-season. He can go back and look to put through North Melbourne's first score of the game. Majak Dawes coming onto the ground as well for the Roos, Robbie Tarrant. So the switch of key defenders there, which we'll keep a close eye on. But this is Lockie Hosey. Yet to make his debut, but you feel like a senior debut isn't too far away. Covers the distance easily from 48, but is off to the left, so that's North Melbourne's first score.
Showed last year as a real natural goal kicker. 21 goals in 8 sample games to earn his spot on the North list, and then went on to kick 20 in 10 VFL games, so more than capable of finding it.
So playing on from the kick out here is Rivers. That's interesting to note. Rivers taking the kick-outs there. Big fly over the top from Sherry, who again is throwing himself at the contest. Roos will retreat all the way back to Durden. The switch isn't on, though. Dorr and Tarrant are just to Durden's right, so he's going to have to go shorter up the line. Goes the shorter option. Here's Mason Wood. Now, Mason Wood had been training a little bit with the defenders during certainly during the start of pre-season. Has that sort of gone into the new year, training with the defenders?
Yeah, I think he's spent most of his time with the defenders. The last couple of weeks, he spent a little bit more time with the forwards. I think Reece likes the idea of having that bit of flexibility and players that can play different positions. And I think also with the unknown of where Ben Brown's going to be at, I think they just want that extra option for another tall.
Well, that's a good kick inside 50. Lovely delivery as well from the Roos. And here's our first look, a good look at Charlie Comben, who was North's one of their top picks last year, pick 31 in the 2019 draft. The boy from Sale, 199 centimetres, Todd, so he's been doing a little bit of work alongside you.
Yeah, he needs to put a little bit more size on, but he's got a real natural ability to find the footy and a really good jump at the footy, so he's a very, very good mark, and it's very impressive at training. Let's have a look what his set shot technique is like. Pretty good off the boot. Charlie Comben gets the first for North Melbourne, and they're 1-1-7. Melbourne 1-2-8. We've played just over 14 minutes in this first quarter.
Good start for Comben in his first game in the colours. as you said, North's first pick in the draft last year. So it'd be good to see him make a debut early in the season.
What's it been like during the off-season? Because Reece obviously came in, replaced Brad after round 10, round 11 last year. He's had his first full look with the first full pre-season. What's the vibe been around the club from that coaching perspective?
Oh, it's been a great feeling, I think. Reece really came in and really endeared himself to the players. And I think you'll hear a lot of people when they talk about Reece talk about how caring he is and how welcome he is to every single person in the footy club. And it's a great trait to have. I haven't seen too many people like him, and we brought in people like Jade Rawlings as well that's really taken that on as well. And they're just great, really good people, and it makes you want to play for them.
You've benched a couple from the Ds, actually. Jade Rawlings as well, and Trent Rivers has come on board to North Melbourne as well. So they've really stuck that coaching panel with some great names.
Yeah, and more importantly, great people. And that's that's why it's such a great feel around the footy club, is because everyone's happy and everyone's on the same page.
Oh, big fly over the top from Mitch Brown. He beat two there, including Majak Dor, and he can have an opportunity, Mitch Brown, to try and kick his first goal, or he got the one behind so far. He's tucked in the right forward pocket here, so on the wrong side for a right footer, but we saw how important he was for Essendon last year, and arguably unlucky to be delisted by Essendon, but now he's got an opportunity with a third club in the Ds, and again he's off to the near side, so he's 0 goals 2, Melbourne a 1 goal 3, North Melbourne a 1 goal 1. McMillan coming into another AFL season. Here is Mason Wood in front there, couldn't quite take it. Curtis Taylor sees it out of bounds. Has Curtis Taylor been just replaying his mark all week at the club, Todd?
Yeah, fair to say he has talked a lot about it. He's pretty happy with himself. There's a few questions about whether he'd gone off the roof yet or not, but he showed what he can do, and especially sitting out the first quarter and a half pretty much, to come out and do that straight away was impressive.
Oscar Baker looks a little worse for wear after that tail on.
Whoa! What an unbelievable fly from Fritsch over the top. He couldn't quite take the mark. We're expecting Cozzy Pickett to provide the highlights, but Bailey with an excellent fly there.
He pulled one down on Scott Thompson last year, round 23, Thompson's last game, so he certainly can fly and likes flying against North.
Here's a fly from Sherry over the top. Beautifully rode for the pack though by the Roos. Anderson through the middle. Wood looks like he's leading up the ball there across half forward. Anderson kept on paddling forward for the Roos, but a free kick has been paid against Melbourne, and it'll come back to Anderson. Right in the AFLW logo. Arden Street will be hosting an AFLW game in a couple of weeks' time, or very soon, in fact. Tomorrow. Ground looks in beautiful condition for it as well, Todd.
Yeah, they put a fair bit of work in trying to get it, make sure it's up and about. Replaced a few areas of turf just last week.
Yep. Tarrant kicks long inside 50, nicely crumbed off the pack, and a kick towards goal. It's just off target again from Hosey. He's now got 0 goals 2, and North Melbourne a 1-2 ace.
Really clean roving there. It's a good sign for the Roos.
Rivers again taking the kick-outs for Melbourne. It's a big kick. Looking for Bradkey from the side. Crumbed superbly by Corey Wagner, who's playing his first competitive game of the season. Spargo to Melksham. They're linking up beautifully through the midfield, and the goals open right up for Jake Melksham. Fritsch is over the top, but he lets it go through. And Jake Melksham has his first goal of the game, one of the more experienced players out there for the Ds. And they take the lead, or they extend their lead rather, 2-3-15 Melbourne, North Melbourne 1-8, 18 and a half minutes played, and good ball movement by the Ds through the guts there.
He's certainly a class player, Jake Melksham. It's good to see him in the middle, because that ball use going forward is always very damaging, but yeah, he might spend some more time deep inside 50 towards the start of the season, but good start for him nonetheless.
Todd, what do you put your 2019 season down to? Numerically, it was probably your best since your All-Australian year of 2015. How do you reflect on last year?
Yeah, I think I was in a really good place, really enjoying my footy, which is a good start. And I'd done a lot of work in the off-season. That's probably the thing I've done for the last 2 or 3 years now, is really put the work in early, and I felt as good as I ever have, mentally and physically. And you never know if it's going to translate into good footy, but you're just glad to get some reward for the work.
Absolutely. As the kick goes inside 50, and again, Comben will have an opportunity to kick his second goal this time. We saw a lovely set shot technique before from Charlie Comben.
And again, Hosey busy.
Yeah. Good signs for a couple of the Kangaroos' young guns, and as Todd mentioned, it's their day-to-day to try and push themselves for early round selection. Charlie Comben now have about 45 metres to cover. Again, that's nowhere near the goals. It'll lucky to make the distance, and then Oscar McDonald flying over the top and taking a intercept mark for Melbourne.
We'll have Oscar's brother Tom joining us a little later in the broadcast, so it'll be good to hear about how he's tracking this season.
Here's Rivers. Dangerous kick inboard, chopped off. Curtis Taylor now with an opportunity to kick for goal. Mentioned his high-flying mark last week, Curtis Taylor, but he played a couple of games late last year. Todd able to get a taste of senior footy, and he was a bit of a slider in the draft. I mean, he thought he went at pick 46, but you can see the talent already today and in the Mars series as well. He could be a serious player for you guys.
And his professionalism's definitely gone up, especially in the new year. And, I think he's putting all his right foot forward to actually perform well, and I think you'll see him play a fair bit this year.
It's a beautiful foot on that occasion. He's split the middle for the Kangaroos, so Taylor kicks his first goal. The two young guns, Taylor and Comben, with North Melbourne's two majors. They're 2-2-14, and Melbourne are 2-3-15, just over 20 minutes played so far in this quarter.
He does like a goal. He's kicked 3+ on 3 occasions in the VFL last season. Todd, do you think he's someone who's going to play predominantly forward, or could he potentially push into the midfield?
I think at this stage he'll be predominantly forward. He hasn't done a whole lot of work with the midfielders just yet, so I think they really just want to get him settled in one position, in one area, rather than putting too much on his mind.
So in the ruck now, it'll be Campbell for North Melbourne. Bradkey again. He's doing most of the ruck work so far. Campbell, speaking of ways to get on the list, Campbell was an SPP pick about 12 months ago now, Todd, and he had a big VFL season, Todd Campbell. Not a lot of opportunities at AFL level, but gosh, he gives you some excellent support.
Yeah, absolutely, and the way his attitude is, he's just really infectious around the group. He's a real team person, and that's why he's fitted in so well, and it's really good to see him back out there after a bit of an injury layoff the last sort of 2 months.
Gee, that's great from Tarrant. North fans would love to see him going back and halving the contest here, but they won't like to see that kick. That's been chopped off, and here's an opportunity for Toby Bedford, boy from Melbourne Grammar, and academy pick linked to the D's via their NGA a couple of seasons ago. Yet to make his debut, Ben, but he showed some pretty good signs for Casey during the VFL season.
He did play more footy than he probably would have expected leading into the year, and he's in good shape. He came second in the club's 3-kilometre time trial, so he's certainly fit and very lively up forward.
Good look here from our cameras, from our vantage point, at this look from Bedford. And the win, you can see really taking it to the right. Is it sort of a normal, natural left to right here at Arden Street, Todd?
It actually often swirls around here a
bit.
Yeah, so it's not too much predictability about it.
It was very good pressure at that last play by Cozzy Pickett just to create that turnover, so the D's would love seeing that.
And the D's have been crying out for that kind of small forward pressure as well, particularly with Jeff Garlick coming off the list last year.
Absolutely, so he might be able to fill that void.
So 23-minute quarter there. Melbourne 2-4-16, North Melbourne 2-2-14. You got a busy day ahead, Todd.
Yep, better start preparing for a game.
Go well. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you very much, boys.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Todd.
it.
That's Todd Goldstein from the Roos joining us here at Arden Street. Nice to have him along, Benny.
Very good. Now we'll just take a short break and be back for the second quarter.